Good morning. So we're now on weeks 2 and 3 in the subject General Mathematics. In this week, we'll talk about the rational functions. Our objectives are, at the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to represent real-life situations using rational functions. Second, distinguish rational function, rational equation, and rational inequality. Third, solve rational equations and inequalities. Fourth, represent a rational functions through its table values, graph, and equation. Fifth, determine the intercepts, zeros, and asymptotes of rational functions. And lastly, solve problems involving rational functions and equations and inequalities. So before we proceed to polynomial or rational functions, let us first have a recall on what polynomial is. So polynomial is an expression that can have constants, variables, and exponents. So yung constants natin, yun yung numbers na kasama ng variable natin. Ano ba yung variable? Yung variable, yun yung mga letters sa polynomials. Yung exponents naman, yun yung numbers sa taas ng variable natin. So, it has no division by a variable or no variable in denominator. And polynomial, so exponents of the variables can also be 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Meaning, the exponents of that polynomial is or should be a whole number. So, bakit kasama po yung 0? Kasi any number raised to 0 is always equal to 1. Kahit na variable pa yan na naka-raised to 0, it's always equal to 1. And 1 is a constant. Therefore, that is a polynomial. That is still a polynomial. So, before we proceed, let's first have an activity. So let's determine the following expressions if they are polynomial or not polynomial. So recap lang natin. It is said to be polynomial if it has either constant, variable, or variable with exponent. So it's the variable should not be in the denominator, and the exponent of that variable should be a whole number, should only be a whole number, meaning from 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on, dapat yung mga variable niya. So, clear na po. So, let's proceed. 3x, is it polynomial or not? So, it's a polynomial. How about x minus 2? Still polynomial. Cube root of x. That is not a polynomial because the exponent of this, kapag simplify natin, is 1/3. How about 4xy squared plus 3x plus 5 is a polynomial. How about the next one? It's not polynomial because the exponent is negative. Sabi natin, yung exponent daw ng variable should be a whole number. And negative 2 is not a whole number. It's a negative integer. So, how about 5? So, skip muna natin. 1 over x, it's not a polynomial because x has an exponent of negative 1 kapag sinimplify. And variable should not be in the denominator. Nasa denominator yung variable natin, which is x. 5 is a polynomial kasi, sabi nga natin kanina, polynomial can be a constant. And 5 is a constant. How about square root of 2? Still a polynomial. Kasi, yung 2 natin is constant. Still a constant. Kahit anong exponent pa niyan, basta constant lang siya, okay pa rin siya. Polynomial pa rin siya. Yung hindi lang pwede, yung may restriction lang, is yung mga variables natin. So, next one is not a polynomial because the exponent of y is negative 3. How about the last one? It is a polynomial. Bakit po siya polynomial? May nag-divide naman siya. Kasi po, yung sa number natin sa baba is a constant. Yung restriction lang niya is kapag yung variable natin is nasa denominator. Since constant yung nasa denominator, still, it is a polynomial. I hope it's already or it's now clear to you. So let's now proceed to rational function as representations of real-life situation. So the local barangay received a budget of 100,000. So to provide medical checkups for the children in the barangay, the amount is to be allotted equally among all the children in the barangay. So write an equation representing the relation of the allotted amount per child, which is the y variable, versus the total number of children, which is the x variable. So sabi dito, yung local barangay daw is naka-receive ng budget na 100,000. Yung 100,000 na yon, yung panggagamitan niya is para sa check-up ng mga bata sa barangay na yon, sa specific barangay na yon. So, pero magsulat daw tayo ng equation or let's gawa tayo ng equation na nagre-represent ng relationship ng amount na matatanggap ng bata, which is represented as y variable, versus sa total number of children, which is represented as x variable. Therefore, the equation is y equals 100,000 over x. Yung y doon is yung amount na marireceive nung bata, nung isang bata, and yung x doon is yung total ng children na makaka-receive sa 100,000 na yon. Nakuha po. Bakit naging y equals 100,000 over x? Kasi kinukuhanan yung kung magkano yung makukuha ng per bata, per child. Magkano yung makukuha ng per child na sa 100,000 na yon. Magkano yung naka-allot sa kanya for medical checkups. So, below is the table of different allotments amount for different values of the number of children using the formula y equals 100,000 over x. So, this is the number of children, which is x, allotted amount, which is y. So, kapag daw 10 lang yung bata na makakatanggap ng budget for medical checkups, each child will receive 10,000. Kapag daw 20 na yung bata na makaka-receive, tigpa 5,000 na lang sila. Kapag 50 naman, 2,000 na lang. Kapag 100 na yung makaka-receive, tigpa 1,000 na lang sila, and so on. So, paano natin nakuha to? So, pwedeng i-substitute lang natin yung x para makuha natin yung value ng y. So, 100 divided by 10, that is 10,000. 100,000 divided by 20, that is 5,000. 100,000 divided by 50, kung 50 yung children, that is 2,000. Meaning, kung 50 yung children, makukuha nila is 2,000 per head. So, that's the representation in real-life situation naman ng rational function. So, let's now proceed to rational function, rational equation, and rational inequality. Ano nga ba yung pinagkaiba nila? So, rational expression muna. So, rational expression is an expression that can be written as a ratio of two polynomials. Example, 5x over 8x plus 3, x over 3, 9 over 3, 1 over x minus 7, 2x minus 1. Bakit rational expression itong 2x minus 1? Hindi naman siya ratio. Wala naman siyang denominator. Wala nga bang denominator? So, yung denominator po niya is 1. Kaya may ratio pa rin yan ng 2 polynomials. And 1 is a polynomial, right? It's a constant. How about x plus 5, same nang in-extend ko dito sa 2x minus 1. May denominator siya na 1. How about 3? Yes, 3 over 1. That's 3 over 1. That's the ratio of two polynomials, a constant and a constant. So, bakit po meron ng x or variable sa denominator? Kasi yung rational expression natin, sabi ko nga, is a ratio of two polynomials. Hindi yung rational expression, is not a polynomial lang, but a ratio of two polynomials. Kaya, pwede na po yung variable natin sa denominator. So, ayun nga, rational expression is an expression that can be written as a ratio of two polynomials. How about, so it's because the numerator is 1, is a polynomial of degree 0. Rational expression, which is also a polynomial. So, rational expression is also a polynomial, but not all the time because of this counterexample. So, not a rational expression naman. So, wait lang. Ulitin natin. Rational expression to because it's a ratio of two polynomial. Still, rational expression to because the numerator 1 is a polynomial. A constant is a polynomial. How about this? Rational expression siya because this is a polynomial. And all polynomials are rational expression. But not all rational expressions are polynomials. Counterexample, this first example. How about this? Square root of x plus 1 over x cubed plus 4. So, not a rational expression since the numerator is a polynomial. The numerator is not a polynomial pala. So, dapat, balik tayo sa first definition niya. It should be a ratio of two polynomials. Since the numerator is not polynomial, therefore, it's not a rational expression. How about the last one? The expression is equal to 1 over x plus 2 times x minus 2. So, it's a rational expression pa rin. Kasi kapag sinimplify mo yan, at equal siya dito. Which is, the numerator is a polynomial. Denominator is still a polynomial. Kapag sinimplify ito, ito yan. So, it's still a rational expression. So, ayan, proceed na tayo. Yung rational function, rational equation, and rational inequality are all rational expression. Ngayon, differentiate naman natin yung definition ng rational function, rational equation, and rational inequality. So, rational function, easy lang yan. Rational function is a function which is the ratio of polynomial functions. So, imbes na ratio of polynomial lang siya, ratio of polynomial functions na siya. So, nakita ba yung kaibahan ng rational function sa rational expression? Imbes na ratio of polynomial function, polynomial, ratio of polynomial function na siya. So, nag-upgrade na siya. Hindi lang siya basta polynomial, but polynomial function. So, that's the rational function. How about rational equation? So, it is an equation involving rational expressions. Meaning, kapag nakita mo yung equal sign dyan, that is a rational equation. Tignan muna natin pala yung example ng rational function. So, sabi natin, it's a ratio of polynomial functions. So, ayan, rational examples of rational function, imbes na yung left side niya lagi is a function. So, alam naman natin yung definition ng function, right? So, yan. Y equals 2 over x minus 1. F of x, g of x, diba? Those are functions. F of x can be expressed as y. So, that's why y is a rational, still a rational function. How about rational equation? Example niya ito, sabi ko nga, it is a rational equation if it has equality. So, equality meaning equal sign. Kapag may equal sign dyan, that's a rational equation. Ayan yung example. So, may equal sign, may equal sign, may equal sign. And, the left and right side of equation should be a rational expression. Left side of the equation is a rational expression. Right side of the equation is a rational expression with equal sign. That's a rational equation. How about rational inequality? So, yung kinaibahan niya sa rational equation, imbes na equal sign, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Yun yung mga sign ng rational inequality. Pero same pa rin sa rational equation yan. Yung pinagkaiban lang nila is sign. Yung left side ng equation and yung right side ng equation dapat both ratio of polynomial. So, naintindihan na ba yung pinagkaiba ng rational function, rational equation, and rational inequality? I hope naintindihan na. If you still do not have, don't understand or still have a question, you can PM me in my Facebook account. Okay? Let's now proceed on solving rational equations. So what are the procedures? Just follow the 3 steps. First is to eliminate the denominator. Second, solve for the value of x by equating 0, factoring, completing the square, or quadratic formula. So what is the quadratic formula? That is negative b plus minus or positive negative square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that's the quadratic formula. And lastly, you check your solution. So let's have an activity or an example on how to solve rational equation para maintindihan natin or ma-memorize natin yung steps. So let us look at the illustrative example number 1. Solve for x. So we have the rational equation of 2 over x minus 3 over 2x equals 1 over 5. So here's the solution. Here's the first step. First is you get the LCD of x, 2x, or 2 over x, 3 over 2x, and 1 over 5. So what's the LCD? That is x, 2x, and 5. So you know how to get the LCD? The LCD is 10x. And then you multiply it to all the terms. So 10x times 2 over x is 20. You cancel x, then 10 times 2 is 20. Minus 10x times 3 over 2x, you cancel 10x and 2x, it will become 5 na lang. So that is 5 times 3, that's 15, equals 10x times 1 over 5, you cancel 10 and 5. So that 10 will become 2, 2x. 2x times 1 is 2x. And then, you manipulate the variables. For as long as you know how to manipulate the variables, it is easy to solve the rational equation. Or kung rational function man yan, rational inequalities man yan, easy na lang siya. Basta marunong kayo mag-manipulate ng variables. Then, 20 minus 15 is 5. So, therefore, that's 5 equals 2x. And then, how do you eliminate 2 in 2x? By dividing both by 2. So, 2 will be cancelled. Therefore, x is equal to 5 over 2. So, paano natin, and last step, step 3, is to check if the solution is correct. So, balik tayo sa original equation. That is 2 over x minus 3 over 2x equals 1 over 5. All you have to do is to substitute the value you got, which is 5 over 2, to x. So that is 2 over 5 over 2, that's the value of x, minus 3 all over 2 times 5 over 2 equals 1 over 5. So 2 divided by 5 over 2, that is 2 times 2 over 5, di ba? You switch lang. Tapos you proceed to multiplication. Therefore, the answer is 4 over 5 minus, so if you simplify this, that is 3 over 5 equals 1 over 5. So 4 over 5 minus 3 over 5, since they are proper fraction, all you have to do is to subtract the numerator. Then copy the denominator. So 4 minus 3 is 1. Copy the denominator, 5. 1 over 5 is equal to 1 over 5. Therefore, it is true. Therefore, 5 over 2 is the solution. So that's it. So we are done now with solving rational equations. So let's now proceed to rational inequalities. So let's skip this procedure. You may read it in your SciPacs. Now, let's go to table of interval notation. So the set notation, this symbol is read as set x such that x is greater than a but less than b, or set of x such that x is between a and b. Since wala naman siyang equal sign, so kapag sinabi nating between, hindi na included si A and B. So, these are an example of set notation and its corresponding interval and its corresponding graph. So, for example here, x such that x is greater than A but less than B, kapag greater than or less than yung symbol niya, open and close parenthesis yung interval natin. At the same time, open circle yung sa graph natin. Kung makita nyo, walang shade yung circle ng A and B. Then, naka-BN or naka-emphasize yung mga numbers between A and B. So, yan yung symbol niya sa graph. Kapag grinap nyo yung set notation na yan, ganito yung lilitaw. How about the second one? So, x is greater than or equal to A but less than or equal to B. Since may equal sign tayo, yung gagamitin nating symbol sa interval is bracket, imbes na parenthesis. So, bracket tayo, and then, mag-iiba na yung graph natin. Magkakaroon na ng solid circle, meaning nakashade na yung dot or point sa A and B. Next one is, x is greater than or equal to A, but less than B. Ayan, so may equal sign yung sa A natin, meaning, bracket yung interval natin, bracket yung sa A, and then yung sa B is close parenthesis. Nakuha po? And kapag bracket siya, laging tandaan na solid circle tayo. Kapag parenthesis siya, open circle tayo. Ayan, kaya solid circle yung sa A, open circle yung sa B, then nakashade yung between A and B. So yung next one is, x is greater than A but less than or equal to B. Ayan, nagkapalit naman sila. Therefore, yung B is yung naka-bracket, then yung A is open parenthesis. Meaning, open circle yung A, solid circle yung B, and yun, nakashade nga yung between the A and B. Okay. How about the next one? X is greater than A. Wala yung B, meaning infinity nun yun, since wala yung value ng B. So, that is open parenthesis A, infinity, close parenthesis. Paano yung symbol niya? Kapag infinity po siya, solid, and then yung hanggang sa arrow, naka-solid siya. Meaning, and beyond na nun yun. Wala nang katapusan. Papunta sa right yung arrow kasi nasa right natin yung sa interval, yung right na value is yun yung infinity. How about yung pangalawa? May equal sign naman. Imbes na greater than A lang, greater than or equal to. So, imbes na open circle siya, magiging solid circle na siya. And parenthesis, bracket na. Yung next is, x is less than B. Mas mababa sa B. Kapag ganon, kapag yung x natin is mas mababa sa binigay na number, then isang number lang yung nakabigay, ayun, arrow na naman siya. Pero this time, since it's less than, yung arrow na naka-shade natin or naka-emphasize natin is banda sa left naman. Then, open circle siya kasi wala siyang equal sign. Then, don't forget, negative infinity siya kasi papunta siya sa left. Eto, bakit infinity lang po? Kasi automatic na yan, positive infinity na yan. Kasi kapag, halimbawa, sa integers, di ba, we do not write positive 3 anymore. We just write 3 kasi automatic na positive na yung number. So, yun. Open circle sila both kasi kapag may infinity tayo, laging open circle yan. Nakuha po. Nagko-close bracket lang tayo kapag may equal sign sa number and or open or close bracket kapag may equal sign, sign of equality sa inequality. Nakuha. May equal sign sa less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So, dito naman, x is less than or equal to b. Yun, naka-shade lang, naka-solid circle lang yung b natin. Tapos, yung last naman, set of all real numbers, meaning lahat. Kapag set of all real numbers na siya, open, negative infinity, comma, positive infinity, close parenthesis. So, lagi nating tandaan na yung negative infinity is always sa left and positive infinity is always sa right. Therefore, yung graph natin is infinite na. Both arrow na siya, naka-emphasize. So, let's have an example. Solve 1 over x greater than 2. So, first step is the single rational expression. So, eto na, no? Yung goal natin sa single rational expression is maging single. Magkaroon tayo ng single rational expression, of course. Meaning, yung isang side ng expression is mag-equal siya sa 0. So, aalisan natin ng value yung isang side ng expression. So, in this case, right side yung, pwedeng right side para masanay kayo, right side na lang lahat yung gawin natin 0. So, 1 over x is greater than 2. Yung ginawa niya is subtraction property of equality. Nag-minus tayo both left and right ng 2. So, 1 over x minus 2, that's still 1 over x minus 2 kasi hindi naman natin siya pwedeng masimplify because they are unlike terms is greater than 0. Then, ayun, isingle rational expression natin by getting the common denominator or simplifying this pala. Get the LCD. So, the LCD of 1 over x and 2 is x. So, x divided by x is 1 times 1, that's 1. X minus, so x divided by 1 because the denominator of 2 is 1, that is still x times 2, that's 2x. So, 1 minus 2x over x is greater than 0. So, that's the single rational inequality. Step 2 na tayo, meaningful numbers. So ayun nga, no? Meaningful numbers, numerator, una, tignan natin yung rational expression natin or single rational expression na nakuha natin sa step 1. Tignan natin yung numerator. 1 minus 2x siya, right? So, 1 minus 2x equals 0. And then, yun, mag-manipulate kayo ng variables, i-transpose na yung 2x, negative 2x sa right side, it will become positive 2x, change sign. Then, paano natin ma-eliminate yung value or yung 2 sa x para makuha natin yung value ng x? Kasi kinukuha natin yung value ng x natin dito. So, 1 equals 2x, divide both by 2. Makakancel yung 2 dito. Therefore, x is equal to 1/2. So, x is equal to 1/2, the numerator, since the inequality is this, therefore 1/2 is not included. So, itetest na natin. So, sabi dito, nakuha natin 1/2, right? So, itetest natin, titingin tayo dito sa original inequality natin. 1 over x is greater than 2. Therefore, that is 1 over 1/2 na. We let the value of x be equal to 1/2. So, upon to simplify, 1 over 2 is equal to 2. And 2 is not greater than 2, right? Therefore, it is false. X is equal to 1/2 is not a solution. O, pangalawa na tayo. X is equal to 0. Saan naman natin nakuha yun? Sa denominator. So, since wala na siyang equation or equal sa 0 na lang siya, wala na siyang x na lang siya, 'di ba? Isang term na lang siya. Therefore, x is equal to 0. Sa denominator naman yon. Kung isa-substitute natin dito sa original equation, we have 1 over 0. Kasi we let the value of x be equal to 0, yun nakuha natin. And 1 over 0 is undefined. Therefore, false siya. X is equal to 0 is not a solution. So, tignan natin dito. If not to test, use the... Kung ayaw nyo mag-test, pwede nyo gamitin yung shortcut na 1/2 since the inequality is greater than, therefore 1/2 is not included. Or x is equal to 0, denominator, always not included since it makes the inequality undefined. Pero, I suggest na gamitin nyo na to, i-test nyo na yung test natin para hindi na tayo malito. I hope nakakasunod pa kayo. If you have questions regarding this, PM nyo lang ako, okay? So, let us proceed to step 3, the graph. So, we graph na, no? Since, di ba yung step 2 natin, parehas na false sila. Meaning, kapag false sila, not included sila. And if they are not included, meaning, open circle sila. So, gagawa tayo ng line. And then, sign is negative infinity, papunta sa left, papunta naman sa right is positive infinity. Then, ilagay natin yung values na nakuha natin, which is 0 and 1/2. Since they are both not included, therefore, open circle sila. So, that is our graph. Ganun lang po yung graph. How about sa interval? So, we have the left, the middle, and the right. From negative infinity to positive infinity tayo. So, yun. Open, parenthesis, negative infinity, since lagi naman open and close parenthesis yung positive and negative infinity. So, open parenthesis, negative infinity, comma, ano yung next na number? 0. Sulat natin yung 0. Then, since it is open interval, it is close parenthesis. So, kung naalala nyo, yung interval, yun yung diniscuss natin na, yung ano lang niya is either open parenthesis or bracket. Okay. So, yung sa gitna naman natin, we have 0 and 1/2. Since they are both open circle, open and close parenthesis lang sila. And lastly, open circle is open parenthesis, 1/2, comma, positive infinity, close parenthesis. So, next one is we test the values. So, we have the original equation, 1 over x is greater than 2. So, ayun nga, open parenthesis, di ba yung una nating interval is negative infinity, 0, right? And negative infinity, 0 are not included. 0 is not included. Therefore, yung mga numbers pababa niyan, yun yung pwede nating i-substitute sa x. Actually, kahit anong numbers pababa, hanggang sa negative infinity naman yun. So, less than 0 is negative 1, right? So, we can substitute or we can get the value or substitute the value of x by negative 1 in the original equation or inequality. So, we have 1 over negative 1 is greater than 2. 1 over negative 1 is negative 1. Is negative 1 greater than 2? So, that's false. So, next one naman is 0, 1/2. So, they are both open circle, meaning the numbers between 0 and 1/2. So, is 1/4 between 0 and 1/2? Yes. How about 1/8? Still, yes. 1 over 12? Yes. How about 3/4? Hindi na. So, any numbers between 0 and 1/2. So, let's try 1/4. So, 1 over 1/4 is greater than 2. So, kapag sinimplify yung 1 over 1/4, that is 4. And 4 is greater than 2. Therefore, it is true. And lastly, 1/2 positive infinity. So, excluded or hindi kasama yung 1/2. So, 1/2 pataas na numbers, yun yung pwede nating substitute sa value ng x natin sa original equation. So, let's try 1 because 1 is greater than 1/2, right? So, that is 1 over 1 greater than 2. And 1 is not greater than 2, right? Therefore, it is false. And lastly, step 6, the answer or solution set na. So, kung dito sa step 3 is wala pang sagot kasi hindi pa naka-highlight kung ano yung mga numbers na makakapagpa-true sa inequality natin, right? So, since the interval 0 to 1/2 makes the inequality true, then the solution is 0, 1/2. Kasi ito lang yung nag-true. Tignan nyo dito sa test values. False tong negative infinity 0, false din yung 1/2 positive infinity. Pero true yung 0, 1/2. Therefore, that makes the inequality true. Yung solution natin is 0, 1/2. So, therefore, we can shade na the graph from 0 to 1/2. So, we go back to step 3. Ito nga yun. So, sasagutin na natin siya. Saan yung shaded part niya? Dito po. Between 0 and 1/2. So, ayun. If you have any questions, feel free to message me via Gmail, Messenger, Google Classroom, anywhere you want. Or you can comment down below if you also want. So, let's proceed na to the next. So, we are now done with rational equations, rational inequalities. So, let's now proceed to rational functions. So, through its table values, graphs, and equation. So, let's look at the example, y is equal to 2 over x minus 2. So, here's the equation, right? So, we consider this graph of the function with a restriction yan, di ba? Ano po yung restriction niya? Kapag yung x natin is equal to 2. Ano yung mangyayari kapag yung x natin is equal to 2? That is 2 over 2 minus 2, right? And 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. Therefore, y is equal to 2 over 0 is undefined. Right? So, we cannot use 2 as the value of x in this equation. So, we proceed to the table of values. As you can see, here are the values of x. And here's the equation naman, or function, I must say. So, yung 2 natin dito is nakalagay positive and negative infinity because it's undefined. Undefined siya kapag sinubstitute mo siya dito sa function natin. Then, kuha tayo ng numbers na mas mababa sa 2, pero tsaka mas mataas sa 2. So, pwede naman tayo mag-set ng values ng whole number para hindi tayo mahirapan sa pagsasolve. Pero in this example, nag-set sila ng values na sobrang lapit sa 2. So, decimal, no? So, yung ginawa lang dito, sinubstitute yung value ng x, inassign na value ng x. So, kapag gagawin nyo yan, kayo yung mag-a-assign ng values ng x. Kayo na yung bahala doon. So, 1.5. So, that is y is equal to 2 over 1.5 minus 2. So, the answer there is, kapag kinalculate nyo siya, that is negative 4. Kapag 1.7 naman, substitute, that is negative 6.67, and so on. Kapag sinubstitute nyo yung 2.5, makukuha nyo is 4. So, bahala kayo kung ilan yung isa-set nyo the value ng x for as long as mag-graph nyo yung function. So, as we assign values of x that are smaller but closer to 2, ito yung mga yun, smaller but closer to 2, the value of y gets closer and closer to negative infinity. Ayan, no? Negative 4, negative 6, negative 20. Kapag nag-substitute kayo ng 1.99999, mas malapit siya sa negative infinity. Sa positive naman, as we consider values of x that are larger than 2, which is ito yung mga yun, but closer to 2, the values of the y gets closer and closer to positive infinity naman. Kapag nag-assign tayo ng 2.0000001, ayun, mas malapit sa positive infinity yung magiging sagot natin. So, it gets closer and closer to positive infinity. Therefore, kapag yung negative or smaller number but closer to 2, pa-approach siya sa 2, yung value mo, yung value ng function natin is pa-approach din sa negative infinity. Kapag naman yung positive are greater than 2 or larger than 2 but closer to 2, mas palapit sa 2 yung value ng positive natin, yung magiging sagot natin sa function is closer and closer din sa positive infinity. Mas lumalaki siya. So, that's the table of values. So, ayan, i-graph na natin. Looking at the graph, as x values gets larger and larger in negative direction, the y values of the graph appears to get closer and closer to 0. Tapos, observe naman natin na yung function will be undefined at x equals 2. This means that there cannot be a line passes through x equals 2. Instead, use the dotted vertical line. So, sabi dito, to represent a rational function using table of values, get any value of x, sabi ko nga kanina, do not make the function undefined, and substitute it to the function to get the value of the function x or f of x and present it in a table vertically or horizontally. So, ayun nga, i-graph na natin siya. So, marunong naman kayo kung paano mag-graph, no? Yung lesson nyo ng grade 8, I think, the Cartesian coordinate plane, grade 8 or grade 9. So, you graph them, but etong function daw na to, since may restriction tayo na hindi siya pwedeng, yung x hindi pwedeng maging equal sa 2 dahil magiging undefined to. So, yung gagawin natin sa x equals 2, which is straight line siya, ito yung x, right? So, straight line, ilalagay na lang natin is dotted vertical line to represent na hindi magpapass through x equals 2 yung function natin na yon. Yun. So, kahit anong ilagay natin na number or value ng x natin except 2, gaano pa siya kalapit or kalayo sa 2, hindi magta-touch yung graph natin, yung solid graph natin sa x equals 2 kasi magiging undefined. It will never touch. So, ayun nga, rational functions through its table values, graphs, and equations. First thing you need to do is to identify the equation that is y equals 2 over x minus 2. Then, identify nyo kung may mga restrictions man yan. Kung may restriction siya, use dotted line to represent that restrictions na hindi magpapass through dun yung graph natin. And then, identify the table of values. You set values of x, kayo nang bahala kung ano man yung isiset nyo, kahit whole number yan, okay lang. Kahit negative integers yan to represent the values in the negative, okay lang din. And then you graph. So, that is the rational function through its table of values, graphs, and equation. So, let us now move on to the next lesson, which is intercepts, zeros, and asymptotes of rational functions. So, intercepts muna tayo. Intercepts are x or y coordinates of the point at which graph crosses the x-axis or y-axis. So, x-intercept, so meron siyang x0 where the graph crosses x-axis. So, to find the x-intercept, just substitute 0 for y and solve for x. Y-intercept naman, just substitute 0 for x and solve for y. So, 0, y naman yung coordinates niya. So, in simple words, or in layman's term, x-intercept is the value of x when y is 0, while y-intercept is the value of y when x is 0. So let us now solve this example, this rational function, and get the x-intercept and y-intercept naman. So x-intercept, sabi nga natin kanina, x-intercept is the value of x when y is 0. Therefore, we substitute y as 0. So we have f of x equals y, wherein y is equal to, substitute the f of x, which is x plus 8 over x minus 2. Yan. And then, we cross multiply. 0 times x minus 2 is 0. So, yung sa denominator ng 0 is 1. So, 1 times x plus 8 is x plus 8. And then, we transpose or subtraction property of equality if you want. We subtract both sides by negative 8. So, 0 minus 8 is negative 8. And x plus 8 minus 8 is x. Therefore, this is the x-intercept. X is equal to negative 8. How about its ordered pair? So, it is negative 8, 0. So, that is x-intercepts. How about y-intercept? Sabi ko nga kanina, y-intercept is the value of y when x equals 0. So, meaning, yung isa-substitute naman natin dito is yung value ng x as 0. So, we have f of x equals x plus 8 over x minus 2. So, we change the value of x. So, dito na tayo sa original equation. We change the value of x by 0. Therefore, y, so f of x or f of a number, sabi ko nga kanina, are just the same as y. F of x is equal to y, right? So, change lang niya dito yung f of a number by y equals 0 plus 8 is 8 over 0 minus 2 is negative 2. So, you simplify, that is negative 4. Therefore, y is equal to negative 4. That is our y-intercept. Therefore, our ordered pair is 0, negative 4. So, ganun lang po yung intercepts natin. X-intercepts and y-intercepts. X is the value of x. X-intercepts is the value of x when y is 0. Y-intercepts is the value of y when x is 0. So let us now proceed to zeros of rational functions. So the values of x that will make the numerator 0 without simultaneously making the denominator equal to 0. 0 of a function is also the x-intercept. So finding the zeros of rational functions, there are 3 steps. Factor the numerator and the denominator and cancel the common factor, of course. Identify the x value that will make the numerator equal to 0, and identify the zeros. So, wholes is or are produced when numerator and denominator have common factor. So, to identify the zeros of rational function, it's just like solving for x-intercept. So, let's give or illustrate some examples. Consider the function f of x equals x minus 2 over x plus 2. So, we find the 0 of a function. So, the numerator, sabi nga dito, factor the numerator and denominator and cancel common factors. Since they don't have common factor, let's proceed to number 2. Identify the x value that will make the numerator equal to 0. So, what numerator is x minus 2, right? So, what is the value of x that will make the numerator x minus 2 equal to 0? So, that is 2. Because 2 minus 2 equals 0, right? Therefore, x equals 2 is our 0 of f of x. Shortcut sa x-intercept. Pero kapag sinolve mo naman yung x-intercept, you substitute the value of y to 0 to get the x-intercept. Same answer lang din makukuha natin. X equals 0 and its ordered pair is 2, 0. You can try it on your own. Pero, here's the shortcut, I think, zeros of rational function in terms of x-intercept. So, number 2 naman tayo. Given f of x, x squared plus 6x plus 8 all over x squared minus x minus 6. So, first thing we need to do is we factor out the numerator and denominator, and then we cancel the common factor. In this case, they have a common factor of x plus 2. So, I hope na marunong na kayo mag-factor. So, isin na lang sa inyo yung pagpa-factor niyan. So, they have a common factor of x plus 2. Then, all we have to do is to cancel them. Yung natira is x plus 4 over x minus 3. So, the numerator, sabi dito, identify the x value that will make the numerator equal to 0. So, our numerator is x plus 4. How can we make that 0? Anong value ng x yung ilalagay natin para maging 0 yung x plus 4? That is negative 4. Therefore, ayan, x equals negative 4 is the 0 of f of x. And the whole is negative 2. Kasi x plus 2 to, di ba? And x plus 2 equals 0 kapag sinolve mo yon, that is x equals negative 2. You transpose. So, the whole is negative 2 produced by the common factor x plus 2. Equate it to 0 and solve for x. Ayan. So, therefore, sa number 2, our 0 of f of x is negative 4 and our whole is negative 2. Easy. So, if you have questions, feel free to message me again on my Facebook account. So let us proceed to asymptotes of rational function. So consider the situation in basketball court. As an audience, if you want to see the game nearly, you move closer and closer to the court but not allowed to enter inside the court, right? So this idea is similar to the definition of asymptote. Asymptote is a line that the graph of a function gets close to but does not touch the graph. There are three different asymptotes. So the first one is the horizontal asymptotes, vertical asymptotes, and the oblique asymptotes. So kagaya nung sinolve natin kanina sa rational function, do sa graphing, diba? Hindi siya nag-touch sa x equals 2, right? That's an example of vertical asymptote. So, ayun nga, horizontal asymptote, yung hindi siya magta-touch is bandang horizontal. Ito yung illustration niya. Vertical naman is pa vertical and oblique asymptote naman is pa slanting line. Okay. So, vertical asymptote naman, this graph, the restriction of the x values of a reduced rational function. To find the restriction, equate the denominator to 0 and solve for x. So, common factors cancelled on both n of x and d of x represent the whole in the graph. So, ayun nga, yung vertical asymptote, gaya nga nung kanina, yung restriction niya, di ba, is 2, x equals 2, magme-make yun ng undefined. Magiging undefined yung function natin. Kaya nagkaroon ng vertical asymptote. How about horizontal asymptote? Let n be the degree of numerator and m be the degree of denominator. So, imagine, no, polynomial, n be the degree of numerator, m be the degree of denominator. If n is less than m, so the horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. If m is less than m, if n is less than m, meaning the degree of the denominator is greater than the degree of the numerator. Example, x over x cubed plus 9. Ayan, mas mataas yung degree ng denominator, right, kesa sa numerator. Therefore, the horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. If n is equal to m, example, x plus 2 over x plus 3. The horizontal asymptote is y equals a over b, where a is the leading coefficient of n of x and b is the leading coefficient of d of x. So, if n naman is greater than m, which is, halimbawa, example is x cubed plus 9 all over x squared plus 3, ayun, the graph has no horizontal asymptote. So, sa oblique naman or slant asymptotes, occurs when the numerator of f of x has a degree that is 1 higher than the degree of the denominator. Ayun. So, if, sabi dito, the degree that is 1 higher than the degree of the denominator, sino yung mas mataas? Yung numerator natin. So, dito naman sa oblique, magiging oblique siya. So, i-recall muna natin, no? Yung vertical asymptote, yung mga restrictions yun na makakapag-make ng undefined sa function natin. That's vertical asymptote. Yung horizontal asymptote naman, may condition tayo, right? Kapag yung degree ng numerator is greater than the denominator, the asymptote is y is equal to 0. Kapag yung degree ng numerator is equal lang sa degree ng denominator, asymptote is y is equal to a over b. Where a and b, there are both leading coefficient of a certain function, right? And, yung n naman is greater than m, bale magiging yun nga, wala na siyang horizontal asymptote nun kapag n is greater than m. Wala na siyang horizontal asymptote kasi oblique na siya. Oblique asymptote na siya. If n is greater than m, asymptote will be oblique or slant. Y is equal to mx plus b yung form no function natin. So, to get the equation of the oblique asymptote, simply divide the numerator by the denominator by either using long division or synthetic division. So, the oblique asymptote is the quotient with the remainder ignored and set equal to y. So, that's the oblique or slant asymptote. So, let's have an example about asymptotes of rational functions. Here are the example of functions. F of x is equal to 1 over x plus 1. So, sa vertical asymptote naman natin, tingnan lang daw natin yung denominator natin. And mag-equate tayo ng isang number doon na makakapagpa-equal sa 0 sa denominator para maging undefined siya. Yun yung vertical asymptote natin. So, paano maging 0 yung x plus 1? Ano yung i-equate natin sa x? That is negative 1. Because negative 1 plus 1 is 0, right? Therefore, our vertical asymptote is x equals negative 1. How about the horizontal asymptote? Look at the degree. The degree of the numerator is 0. How about the degree of the denominator? It is 1. So, titingin tayo sa degree naman sa variable. Sa highest variable. Okay. If numerator is 0 and denominator is 1, therefore, n is less than m. Therefore, y equals 0. The horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. So, proceed to next. 4x over 2x plus 1. So, 2x plus 1 siya. Kunin natin yung value ng x na makakapagpa-0 sa denominator natin. So, ayun, nag-equate siya equate niya sa 0, transpose, and yung value ng x nakuha niya is negative 1/2. So, therefore, our vertical asymptote is negative 1/2. How about the horizontal asymptote? Degree of numerator, n is 1, right? 4x kasi, so 1. Degree of denominator is also 1. Therefore, n is equal to m. Therefore, ano yung asymptote natin non horizontal? Y is equal to AB, right? And where A is the leading coefficient of the numerator and B is the leading coefficient of the denominator. So, leading coefficient, titingin tayo niyan sa highest exponent na variable na ginamit natin, which is 4x. So, 4 yung A. Yung sa denominator naman is 2. So, 4 over 2 is 2. Therefore, the horizontal asymptote is y equals 2. That's it. So, last number naman, f of x is equal to x squared over x minus 1. So, vertical asymptote, ano yung makakapagpa-undefine sa denominator? That is 1, right? So, therefore, the vertical asymptote is x equals 1. How about the horizontal asymptote? So, tignan natin yung degree. The degree of the numerator is 2. The degree of the denominator is 1. Therefore, n is greater than m. Numerator, degree of numerator is greater than degree of the denominator. Therefore, there is no horizontal asymptote. Instead, it is an oblique asymptote. So, kapag greater than yung numerator, degree na numerator sa denominator, oblique asymptote na siya. So, no need to divide the function and get the equation. So, yun na yun. So now let's proceed to solving problems involving rational functions, equations, and inequalities. So problem number 1, an Air Force plane flies at a speed that is 30 kilometers per hour faster than a cargo plane. So the Air Force plane flies 500 kilometers in the amount of time that the cargo plane flies 440 kilometers. So, ayun nga, Tagalogan natin muna para mas maintindihan. So, may dalawang klaseng plane tayo. Air Force plane, tsaka cargo plane. Sabi dito, yung Air Force plane is faster. 30 kilometers per hour faster than the cargo plane. And the Air Force plane, 500 kilometers siya. Tapos, yung cargo plane naman is 440 kilometers naman at the same time. Kapag nagta-travel sila, same amount of time lang, 500 kilometers yung natatravel ng Air Force plane, 440 kilometers lang naman yung sa cargo plane. So, find the speed of each plane. So, let R be equal to the speed of the cargo plane in kilometer per hour. And R plus 30 naman yung speed ng Air Force plane in kilometer per hour. Kasi sabi dito, 30 kilometers per hour faster than the cargo plane. So, yung Air Force natin is the speed of the cargo plane plus 30 kilometers faster than the cargo plane. Kaya R plus 30 siya. So, since the distance is equal to rate times time, we can fill up the table as follows. So, Air Force and cargo plane. So, the distance is 500. Ayun, 500 kilometer. 440 naman sa cargo plane. Tapos, yung rate naman nila is, ayun nga, yung sinubstitute na or ginawa natin ng ano dito. Yung rate ng Air Force plane is R plus 30 kasi mas mabilis daw siya ng 30 kilometers per hour kesa sa cargo plane. And yung rate naman ng cargo plane is R lang, small letter R. So, representation, ginawan natin siya ng representation. Small letter R lang po ito. Ayan. So, yung time is equal to distance over rate, right? Kasi sabi dito, distance is equal to rate over time. Kapag kinuha mo naman yung time, we divide both by rate. Therefore, time is equal to distance over rate. So, that's the formula. So, ayun nga, yung T equals dr na siya kasi nag-manipulate na tayo ng formula dito. So, isubstitute lang natin. Yung distance is 500 over the rate, which is R plus 30. Sa cargo naman, we have the distance of 400 over the rate, which is R. And then, we proceed to our solution. So, since the time of travel for the Air Force plane is equal to the time of the cargo plane, so equal lang, the equation should be written as follows. Time is equal to airplane equals time multiplied by cargo plane. Kasi same time lang sila, di ba? They travel at different speed at the same time. So, equal lang yung time nila. So, we substitute the formula lang. So, yung time, sabi nga dito sa formula, time is equal to D over R. So, distance of air force over rate of air force is equal to the distance of cargo over rate of cargo. And then you substitute na the distance over rate, which is 500 over r plus 30 equals 400 over r, which is the rate. And then you manipulate the equation. We can get the LCD or we can cross multiply. 500 times r is 500r equals 400 times r plus 30. So 400 times 440 times r is 440r plus 440 times 30. That is 13,200. So next one is we transpose or subtract both sides by 440r para malipat dun yung sa left yung 440r. Magiging 500 minus 440 is 60r equals 13,200. So, we divide both by 60 para maalis yung 60 dito sa kasama ng r. R equals 13,200 over 60. And then you simplify. 13,200 divided by 60 is 200. Therefore, since the rate of the Air Force plane is 300 or 30 km per hour faster than the cargo plane, then R rate of the Air Force is equal to 220 plus 30. That is equal to 250. So, ayun nga, R is 220 pala dito. 13,200 divided by 60 is 220 po. So, let's change this to 220. Ay, wait lang. So, 220 po ito, no? Paki-correct na lang yung sa SciPax natin. Ayan. Kaya, yung conclusion natin is, rate of airplane equals 220 plus 30. Babalik niyan tayo sa R plus 30. And that is, R is 220 plus 30 equals 250. Therefore, the cargo plane travels at 220 kilometers per hour while the Air Force plane travels at 250 kilometers per hour. So, if you have any questions regarding weeks 2 and 3, feel free to message me or you can comment down below. You can also message me at Gmail, my Gmail, princessjudy.venarao@deped.gov.ph or my messenger, Princess Venarao, if you still have questions. So, yung passing po natin ng weeks 1 and 2 is on October 1. You can pass it via Google Classroom, yung binigay kong link sa group chat nyo, or you can also send it or pass it at school. Okay? So, good day and keep safe. God bless.